Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be having a conversation about something that has been on our minds for almost a week now. If you remember, last weekend was Star Wars Celebration, and during the event, they brought Stig Asmussen, the game director for Jedi Survivor, out onto the stage to provide an interview about Jedi Survivor, and during this interview, Stig officially confirmed publicly that Coruscant would be a planet in Jedi Survivor. Now, if you've been keeping up with the channel and with our breakdowns, you would already know that Coruscant is in this game, but Stig officially confirmed it last weekend, and afterwards, a lot of platforms took to the internet and provided a lot of misleading information about Coruscant in Jedi Survivor and how it is going to operate within the game. And today we are going to set the record straight about Coruscant in Jedi Survivor, and we are going to be taking a look at all of the gameplay footage that we have for Coruscant, and we are going to be providing insight and talking about just how Coruscant is actually going to work in Jedi Survivor based off of this footage and the information that we know. But before we get into this very important conversation, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that is just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button and the bell notification right on next to it. It will notify you every single time Andreas and I upload the latest and greatest Star Wars and Jedi Survivor content. Now, without further ado, Andreas, are you ready to set the record straight on Coruscant in Jedi Survivor?
Oh yeah, let's talk some Coruscant, guys. Just like Nick said, this whole Coruscant conversation is really at the forefront of this game following Star Wars Celebration. If you guys saw the panel, then you know exactly what we're talking about. Or if you alternatively saw some of the media coverage, you'll think that now all of a sudden there's going to be this big, sprawling, open world Coruscant. Now, of course, these different media outlets were misquoting what was said during the Jedi Survivor panel, and so what we're going to do is we're just going to let this the relevant segment play out. I know a lot of people have been paraphrasing for what Stig said at the panel. We're just going to let Stig speak for himself here.
Just to talk about another planet, we're going to have Coruscant as well too. I think there's been a lot of speculation on that, and just confirming it here.
Wow. Wow, Cal's going to Coruscant. That's good.
Yeah, so as you guys heard, all Stig said was, we are going to have Coruscant as well. Stig did not say that Coruscant's going to be open world, that it's going to be a fully explorable planet, that it's going to be this sprawling open environment. He didn't say anything about the scale of Coruscant, just that we are going to have Coruscant in the game. But regardless of this very straightforward statement that Stig made during this panel, a lot of different outlets, including Star Wars Holocron, have spun this out of control, saying things like Coruscant is a freely explorable open world in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And as expected, this then caused a very appropriate backlash from Andy McNamara in this quote retweet here, saying, to be clear, Stig never claimed Coruscant was a freely explorable open world. He only confirmed it as one of the destinations in the game. Survivor has amazing planets to explore and our biggest environments to date, but wanted to be clear on what was said. And I really love this tweet because it really gets to the core of the matter, which is that this Star Wars Holocron tweet is completely misrepresenting what Stig had said in his interview. And Nick, I think this kind of gets to the first step of our video, which is just kind of setting the record straight. And that is that while Koboh is this big sprawling open world, and we've seen that firsthand, Koboh is truly remarkable. Now I'm not sure if I would go as far as to say that it's open, but it's certainly massive. And it honestly, you know what? I personally think it's open. That's just my personal belief. Nick, what do you think here?
Yeah, it's definitely the most open-worldy feeling planet we've ever seen from the franchise. I know Respawn and EA have been very careful about not referring to any elements of this game as open world or anything like that, just because they don't want people to think we're getting some GTA-type Star Wars experience out of Jedi Survivor, because that's just simply not what it is. But Koboh is definitely the most open-worldy type planet in Jedi Survivor. It is by far the biggest planet in Jedi Survivor, and this whole segment about Coruscant was just him confirming Coruscant was going to be in the game. Yes, he was talking about it within the context of talking about how they made bigger planets such as Koboh and how they tried to go for more explorable options in the game, but he never, ever once refers to Coruscant as fully explorable open world. I'm not quite sure where some of these media outlets got this idea from, and I think, Andreas, we have a responsibility as one of the platforms covering this game to set the record straight as to what exactly is true about stuff in Jedi Survivor. And what really disappoints me, and why I think this is so important, why I think as many people as possible need to see this, and why I felt the need to make this video, is that Star Wars Holocron tweet has almost 1 million views. Almost 1 million people have viewed that. And when you see Andy McNamara's tweet, only about 368,000 people saw the correction. So not even half the amount of people who saw that original tweet possibly saw the correction to that tweet. So there's still the possibility that hundreds of thousands of people who saw that tweet are still running around with the idea in their head that Coruscant is something that it just simply isn't in Jedi Survivor, and that is completely irresponsible for that to be reported that way. So I just feel the responsibility to help set the record straight about what Coruscant actually is in Jedi Survivor. And Andreas, speaking of what Coruscant actually is going to be like in Jedi Survivor, I think a lot of the gameplay footage that we have, all of the gameplay footage that we have of Coruscant up to this point, helps provide a lot of insight as to what we can expect from Coruscant.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's kind of the first thing that we really want to do here is show you guys firsthand what we've seen of Coruscant, so that you're not relying on these media outlets that are kind of paraphrasing for the facts here. And honestly, Nick, what kind of boggles my mind here is that Holocron never took their statement down, and I don't think they ever corrected their statement. I don't think they ever went back and tried to clarify. So let's all just take a look at what we have from this game, all of the information, and Nick and I are going to try to bring our perspective, having played this game and having talked to the devs and having been on the other end. We want to really paint a picture for you guys of what we believe Coruscant will be and how it's going to contrast to the Koboh that we explored when we ultimately did play this game. So, Nick, why don't we go ahead and go through some of that Coruscant gameplay that we've seen to date. And I just want to say, first of all, before we look at the gameplay, that we knew from pretty much day one, since we saw the teaser trailer, that Coruscant was going to be in this game. As you all know, StarWars.com had screenshots of the initial teaser trailer where it literally confirmed that the Powin senator was looking at Cal's lightsaber on Coruscant. So we knew that Coruscant was going to feature in this game, at least in a cutscene. And then later on, we've really seen Coruscant gameplay throughout the different trailers. So let's go ahead and turn to that. Nick, do you want to kind of get us started here, just looking at the first segment of gameplay that we have from this game?
Yeah, so all of this footage that we're going to be looking at is from all of the trailers that we've gotten from Jedi Survivor, including the most recent brand new gameplay trailer for Jedi Survivor. So this is all the most recent stuff we have over the last few months. And I would like to say before we start things off here that based off of what we know and based off of the conversations that we've had with people, our personal expectations for Coruscant in Jedi Survivor fall more in line with how the planets operated in Jedi Fallen Order, and that's not the case with Koboh. Koboh really is a very unique planet in this game. It is a massive game. I know you guys have heard us say that multiple times, just how big that planet is, and it's really hard to reiterate how big it is. It's really something you guys will need to experience for yourselves in 2 weeks when this game releases. But for us here, we are personally expecting Coruscant to be more like those Fallen Order type planets. And I think a lot of this footage that we're going to go through here, if we really just take a second look at it and really break it down, I think you'll see some of those elements that we're talking about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this shot of the Stinger Mantis on one of the landing platforms of Coruscant. And Andreas, one of the biggest things that I take away from all of this footage is that all of this footage is down on the underworld or in the underworld portions of Coruscant. All of the upper world stuff was all taken care of in cutscenes. We're expecting all of the gameplay to be really situated and mainly located, if not exclusively located, in the underground portions of Coruscant. And if you take a look at this landing platform, the big thing that kind of sticks out to me here and where it really shines differently from Koboh is it looks more enclosed, and it really looks like from this platform you're going to be pushed more in one direction, in a certain direction. It really looks like it's pushing you back towards those stormtroopers. You can't just branch off in a million different directions from this landing platforms, or at least that's how it looks to me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. I think on most of the locations that we're going to go to in this game, you'll really start from the Stinger Mantis. I think this is the starting area. Once you do arrive, you are going to start on the Stinger Mantis. And this will be the area that you can probably return to Coruscant. You will start your journey from the Stinger Mantis, kind of like, Nick, how you were saying back in Fallen Order. And then you will be able to traverse your way down a linear path. Whereas one of the reasons why Koboh is so revolutionary for this series is that you can really go out in every single direction. Nick and I both got lost on Koboh. That's how big it is. And I think Coruscant will push you in towards a more linear path that you will go down along. And I think the gameplay after this shot really does reinforce that. This is the next bit of gameplay that we've seen. It's the companion gameplay with Cal and Bode, and this is an area that we'll become very familiar with because we've seen it in at least another shot as well. This is the gameplay that we have pointed out, those very beautiful doors in the back that look kind of like the Outlander Club. This is one very narrow alleyway, and it looks like it does have one direction to go down. You are going through whatever enemies you're facing towards the back door, and that's about it. It is a corridor. There is a linear path. There's a way to go. It looks and feels very similar to what we saw back in Fallen Order. Is that kind of your pulse on things as well, Nick?
Yeah, my biggest takeaway, I'm not quite sure, the whole linear side of things. I definitely want to be careful using the word linear, and I know you are too. You're not, you don't mean it's exclusively linear, but I think it's a good word to kind of help differentiate it between Coruscant and Koboh and other planets. Is just, if you look at this, the big thing that immediately stands out to me is it's just very corridor based, which is very familiar if you played Fallen Order. Just a lot of those corridors, a lot of, you got to run down the hallway, and then maybe at the end of the hallway you can pick a new direction to go, left or right. It looks like down by that door at the end you'll have to hang a right to keep going, but it looks very corridor based, and I don't know if that's a good way to explain it or if that makes a lot of sense, but in my mind that's how I see this gameplay from these last two sequences. Is it's not just open. You can't just run whatever direction you want here. You are being pushed down a corridor. You have to make your way down this corridor. And to me, that just helps show that this is going to be more like those Fallen Order experiences than Koboh, because Koboh really is go whatever direction you want to for the most part. So as we continue, the last main sequence we have here is this sequence we have with the stormtroopers. And I know we talked about the workbench on the left in our breakdown, but we didn't really get into the background, what's kind of going on. And if you take a look, I think this provides a lot of great insight into how Coruscant is going to work. So we have those corridor sequences. I think we'll have a lot of those. And then I think we'll also have areas like this, where this is more of kind of an open area, more of like a courtyard, a central area, where you'll be able to branch off in different directions. You'll see looks like there is a passageway to the right that you can go down. Out in the distance, you'll see a staircase up that you can go up and down, so that's probably how you'll be able to change levels. It looks like you'll be able to hang a left there. It's not completely open, but it gives you options to explore. Coruscant is going to be explorable, but it's not going to be this open world, go wherever you want, fully explorable location. Those are two completely different things. It's still going to be explorable. You know, to me, looking at this footage, Andreas, this kind of reminds me how Coruscant was handled in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, at least the Iskuru district, how it was handled. I'm getting a lot of the same vibes from that as I am in Jedi Survivor, and you know what I'm talking about. It's more of that corridor square type, where you have corridors you have to go down, you have a couple more open areas, but you're not able to just go wherever the hell you want, like you are on Koboh. It's kind of more contained and controlled how they allow you to explore it, just like the planets are in Jedi Fallen Order.
One thing that I really want to make clear is I don't think we're trying to crush any hopes here for those of you who are dreaming of a large area to explore in Coruscant. I certainly think that Coruscant will be sizable. I think this whole game will be sizable, frankly, because the expectation that Nick and I had going into Koboh was we were expecting a very smaller Koboh than what we were greeted with. And when we got there, we couldn't believe how big it was. It had different biomes. It had a freaking jungle, and then it had a desert, the Rambler's Reach area, the Sandcrawler, the canyons. It was massive. We got lost. And I think Coruscant is going to surprise us as well. I think we're going in expecting something out of Fallen Order, and I think we will be pleasantly surprised that it will be bigger, but it will be that same sort of corridor contained style. I still think that they are going to give us some agency to decide how and where we will go down that path. And we saw that with Fallen Order. There was a general direction to go, but you could go in that direction multiple different ways sometimes. And I think they are going to expand upon that, and I think we can expect that out of Coruscant. But I just would not expect Coruscant to be anywhere near the level of openness that Koboh is, just because of how massive Koboh is. And I certainly think it is fair to say that Coruscant will not be a open world capable of free roam like it's some kind of GTA Coruscant. I do not think that's a fair expectation to hang on this game, and I think we should be wary of that expectation. But I also don't think that we should be disappointed here and think that, oh, this is going to be a very small and contained Coruscant. I have no doubt that this will be an incredible representation of the underworld of Coruscant, and that it will surprise us in terms of scale and scope, because this game continues to surprise Nick and I in terms of scale and scope and depth and level of detail that they have shown thus far. And I have no doubt that they'll do the same with this segment of the game as well.
Yeah, I think that is a really important point to make that you just said, that just because we're pointing out that this is not going to be a fully open world explorable Coruscant doesn't mean we're saying it's going to be this small, very disappointing Coruscant. That's not what we're saying at all. In fact, based off of what they've said about the planets, how they try to make them bigger to take the next step from Fallen Order, we still think Coruscant is going to be a pretty sizable location that a lot of you and all of you are going to have fun exploring, and we're going to have fun exploring. It's just not going to be in that massive open world variety like Koboh is, because Koboh is so damn big. And I don't think it's fair to expect Respawn to make each and every single planet that big. I don't even know if I want each and every single planet to be that big, because like you said, Andreas, there were a few times during that preview event that we were getting lost, and it was getting a little frustrating because I wanted to keep progressing with the story, and it was just so big that it was hard to know where to go sometimes. I don't know if I want it to be that open, but I think with Coruscant and with all of these planets, Respawn is going to strike a careful balance here that is going to be enjoyable for everybody. So I definitely don't think any of you should be disappointed by the fact that this won't be a fully open world GTA type explorable Coruscant. I still think it is going to be big enough, and it's going to scratch that itch that we all have to get into Coruscant in a AAA Star Wars game, just not in the way that some of you think it's going to, but I still think it's going to accomplish that vision. So guys, let us know down below in the comments what you think of all of these new details. We just wanted to make sure that we were setting the record straight about the truth of Coruscant in Jedi Survivor, and we wanted to break down all of the new gameplay details and new gameplay footage that we've gotten over the last few weeks, and just help provide some insight based off of our own analysis and information and conversations that we've had as to how Coruscant will work in Jedi Survivor, and just present it to all of you because we want to make sure that you guys have the clearest picture possible as to what to expect from this game, since we are so close to release and we are so excited to see and hear what you guys all think about this game when it releases. So let us know down below in the comments what you think of all this. But that is going to do it for us for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.